Michel Barnier talking about the need, in his view, to pass this deal, to get it through the Commons. Is that still possible? We've had meaningful vote 1, 2, 2.5. Does it really come back?
Well, I think that Theresa May is indeed trying to bring her deal back for another vote. The cabinet meeting, which was meant to be 5 hours today, has just been delayed, so it looks like she's trying to step back from the cliff edge. You know, the cabinet meeting will be much shorter today. I don't know how she has the numbers to get it through. But the bigger point is that the withdrawal agreement, what Theresa May has been negotiating with the EU for the past 2.5 years, stays on the table no matter what. It doesn't matter if it's a new prime minister. It doesn't matter if that prime minister is a Labour prime minister or a Tory prime minister. Even in the event of a no-deal Brexit, as Michel Barnier has made abundantly clear this morning, the items that are in the withdrawal agreement, primarily the financial obligations the UK has, the Irish border issue and EU citizens' rights, are issues the UK cannot avoid no matter what.
Michel Barnier, just wrapping up his comments there in Brussels, you're looking at live pictures coming to us. Do you think it's more likely that we see no deal or we see a request by a UK Prime Minister for an extension?
Well, the only options on the table are Theresa May's deal, no deal, or a revocation of Article 50. I think that parliamentarians
or an
have
extension could lead to all sorts of things.
An extension, which is essentially can kicking. Parliamentarians have made clear that they won't countenance a no-deal Brexit. It's all well and good for Parliament to say we don't want a no-deal Brexit, but unless you take the legal measures to actually prevent that from happening, which is either a revocation or an extension request, if not, by automatic extension of law, the UK crashes out in 10 days.
I want to go to all three of you. And Nina, I really want you to start this off. I was thunderstruck once again last night that we didn't see what we would see in America. March 31, 1968. Guess what? LBJ said he wasn't going to run again. Why doesn't she resign? I think Americans are just baffled that we didn't see that last night. We didn't see it X number of weeks ago, etc. Why can't she resign?
In many ways, this is a clear indictment of how weak the government is and how weak the Prime Minister is. She is literally too weak to resign. It's not clear.
I don't understand that.
It's not clear.
Anna, jump in here. So, you know, I just don't get it.
With 10 days left, if she were to resign and the Conservative Party were to be plunged into a leadership contest, I can assure you that all hell would break loose. So I think that she is kind of, by staying, and she's already said that she will go after her deal passes.
Right.
By staying right now, she's actually the glue that's holding this together.
And I've spoken to backbench Tory MPs who've been calling for her to go, but they're very clear. They don't want a coronation. They don't want to get rid of her and bring somebody in quickly. They want a full leadership contest, which takes months.
Let's go to something stable like English football. I mean, if a manager in English football screws up, he resigns or he's fired or whatever.
Because it takes 24 hours to put a new one in place or a temporary one in place and to get on with running.
She's indispensable. Baloney. They could figure this out, right?
But we could figure that out, but we can't figure the important thing out, which is, you know, currently we have to get something through a group of MPs who can only agree about what they don't agree about. That's the only thing they can agree.
We all know that.
So changing the figurehead, unless the figurehead has power, presidential power, unless the figurehead has presidential power, we don't achieve anything. I mean, I agree she should run, but it won't help.
Nina, they could go through 3, 4 new prime ministers. Harold Wilson resigned a zillion years ago as well. What is the fear here to go on to the new?
I think a lot of people who are calling for her head, you know, the Boris Johnsons of this world, made a strategic misstep because they basically said, we're not going to back your deal, we're not going to back your deal, until she said, I will resign after my deal gets through. Then they all said, right, we're going to back your deal. As it turns out, there aren't the numbers now to get her deal through Parliament. The point being, her deal is the poison chalice. So even all of those in the Conservative Party, I know, all of those in the Conservative Party who want to become the next Prime Minister don't want to be the ones who have to get her deal through Parliament. They want to take over after the deal has passed so they can blame her for all of the failures of Brexit.
We could have elections. We could say, well, let's have a delay to have new elections. It's far from clear that we get anything other than another hung parliament that can't make a decision through that. I mean, this is the mess we've managed to create for ourselves. And so, yes, strong leadership would help in some form, but... Oof.
Here's another thought. Looking at the breakdown of the votes last night, I noticed that the independent group, which has been cobbled together in recent weeks, people who quit the big parties joining this independent group, now called Change UK, I noticed that they voted against a number of very soft options. They voted against customs union and single market and customs union 2.0 and all of those because referendum 2 was on the cards. So that's what they're holding out for. You wonder if you do get a majority for something softer, if the possibility of another referendum goes away.
It is astounding. I mean, these people quit both Labour and the Conservative Party because they want a no Brexit. And I think the fact that they voted against softer forms of Brexit is indicative of just how polarised this country is. And on both ends, it's becoming more and more extreme. Let's not forget that the hardcore Brexiteers are also voting repeatedly down Theresa May's deal, which was the only thing on the table that would ensure the UK actually leaves.
Nina, I watched the other networks last night, and there seems to be clearly a Brexit exhaustion. Everybody just goes to the next interview and blah, 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 blah. What's the distinction you're going to look for in the next week or so? What's the thing you're listening for at Parliament?
I think the big problem that this country faces is that the fundamental choices that the UK has to face, whether there is to be a deal or no deal, still have not been addressed honestly by politicians. And we might enter an extension, you know, where we have a general election, we take part in the European parliamentary elections. None of that matters. It's just can kicking if the fundamental choices that are on the table and the inevitable trade-offs are not addressed honestly. And I just think if you look at how polarized this country is right now, that's not going to happen.